Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Live. I'm a little bit excited about tonight's topic. I think it's a really important one. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes for Facebook to let everyone know that I'm live, and please let me know that you're here once you arrive by clicking on one of the icons or making a comment and saying hello, and then I know as people start rolling in that I can get started on tonight's topic. In the meantime, I wanted to touch base and say hello to all of our TKH 100 Revolution people. We've got a new group that we've started on Facebook. It's called, it's hashtag TKH Revolution, and that's for the 100-day challenge. Hashtag TKH 100 space revolution is the new group that we've got going on Facebook. We do have our own private TKH Clinics Peeps group, hey Lynn, and we were using that for a while, but I had so many external people wanting to join the 100 that I created a new group, hey Abby, and it's really interesting to see us all getting in there and sharing our, hey Gwenda, sharing our ideas and what we've been doing. Hey Megan and Malcolm. Hi Nikita. It's great to see everyone starting to roll in, and I'm really excited. Like, this is our 12th Monday Night Live, if you can believe it. So it's been an entire quarter. Hey Monique, and I'm loving, hey Amy, and I'm loving that everyone's obviously sort of sitting there ready on Facebook, and you're all ready and here at 7 o'clock. Hey Caroline. Hey Hillary, how you going? Hi Lisa. So yes, hashtag TKH100 Revolution is the group on Facebook if anyone's interested in joining. It's basically a 100-day challenge that you go for 100 days straight doing something other than your basics with your horses. And I am about to put in some guidelines. Hopefully I'll get around to that tomorrow. So there is already a couple of posts in there. I've got a pinned post in there that explains what the TKH 100 is and what it's for. There's also a newsletter in that group that explains it as well. So if you're interested in it, go to that group. And if you can't find them, just say, hey Tanya, can you tag me in it? And I'll tag you in it, no worries at all. Hello Jill, hello Ange. It's so great to see everyone rolling in for tonight's Monday Night Live. Obviously, our topic tonight is pretty interesting for a lot of people, and our topic tonight is nervous horses. Hello, Helen, how you going? So, I'm really excited to share with you my ideas on nervous horses, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tanya from Tanja Kraus Horsemanship, and you are watching me, hey Hannah, you are watching me live on our Facebook page, Tanja Kraus Horsemanship. So those of you that are joining in, you will be able to see there is a button for you to invite people to watch the live stream. There's a button there for you to share it, and there's a button there that you can be notified when Tanja Kraus is live, or when Tanja Kraus Horsemanship is live. So if you want to get told when I'm live, because I do go live other than Monday nights, please click any of those buttons, or do what Helen just did and just tag someone in the comments, and they'll be able to see that we're up and running. So I'm really excited about that. I also wanted to let everybody know that, hey Tracy, we are doing an initiative with these Monday Night Lives. What we're doing is we're actually getting them on DVD. So the first DVD is in my hot little hands. I can see it on Hannah's desk over there. All I've got to do is watch it and make sure that the transfer happened all well and good. And if that happened, then Belinda, gorgeous Belinda, who does all my DVD production for me, will be able to start producing them, and we will have them available at a really low cost. They will be exactly what you see on the Monday nights. There's no editing or anything like that, and it's not a huge, we're not trying to make money off it or anything like that. All we're doing is we're going to make the DVDs available, so you'll be able to have the Monday Night Lives as a collection. So the first DVD has 5 of the Monday Night Live sessions on it, which will be the first 5. And then basically every time we've done 5 sessions, I'll ship them to Belinda. She'll ship me a master copy to make me check it to see that it's working fine. And then we'll have the DVDs available to you guys. So I know that some of us like to have the videos available on Facebook, which they're currently still all on the Tanja Kraus. Hey Lisa, Canada, how you going? I know that some people like to have them on Facebook. I know that some people are going to love having the DVDs in the house because they're going to be sitting right there and you can look on the back and go, okay, well, this thing is on this DVD, this topic, and this is what I want to watch, and you can pop it in the DVD player and watch it at your leisure. And a lot of us have DVD players in the cars and stuff like that. So keep an eye out. We should have the first Monday Night Live DVDs available very, very soon. And I will be taking pre-orders, so we order enough as the first order to make sure that we've got enough to send out to everybody. I won't be keeping a terrible amount in stock, but they will always be there available to print more and things like that. So I wanted to let you guys know all about that. Also, anyone who is interested in coming to the Rider Development course, which is on the weekend of the 15th and 16th of July, we're on 24 hours for early bird pricing. So, hey Karen, how you going? Hey Rachel. We're on 24 hours for early bird pricing. So anyone who needed that reminder, this is your reminder. The Rider Development course is happening at Glenray, New South Wales in a week and a half or something like that. It's a really cool course. We always have heaps of fun in the Rider Development. It's fairly new to the program, but I have run it a couple of times and we've had a great time. So I think I've got all of the information to you that I wanted to let you know. Those of you that are interested in other DVDs and books, I am doing a little bit of a July sale at the moment, but you can find that information on the Tanja Kraus Horsemanship Facebook page after the Monday Night Live is finished. We will get started. Hey Sarah, great to see you here. Maybe a bit far to drag Louis. Well, you might want to start him under saddle too. I'm thinking, Rachel, like that would just be, that would occur to me. It's up to you though. If you want to, go ahead and jump on him for a Rider Development course, then go for it. But maybe do a little bit more with him to start with. So tonight's topic, as we said, is nervous horses. And the first thing I want to do is go through some of the topics or some of the reasons that our horses may be nervous. And then, as I always do, I'm going to go ahead and go through the solutions that I would use to help those nervous horses. So a lot of you that have been joining the Monday Night Lives for a while are going to be seeing that there is a bit of a running theme when it comes to problems. Oftentimes it's basically there's a sort of top 5 problems that are generally going to be contributing or that I see contributing en masse, if you like, the most prevalent problems that I see contributing. So some of you who have watched a lot of the Monday Night Live shows will say, I'm sure I've heard her say that before. I'm sure I've heard her say that before. That's because it is very often a similar thing that is causing multiple problems or one problem. It's not necessarily, my first thing tonight is being overfed. So we've talked about overfed in previous ones on, hot horses, or we've spoken about it on horses that are, that we're having other kind of issues with. And we've spoken about the horses being overfed. You might have no problems whatsoever if your horse is overfed. You might have one problem which may seem completely unrelated, or you might have several problems, all of which overfeeding is contributing to. So, hey Anna and Elliot here, super keen to listen to this. Okay, great. Yeah, I hope that I can give you some good tips to work on with your nervous or worried slip nut. Okay, so as I said, the first thing that I wanted to touch base on is your horses being overfed. And this will contribute to your horse being nervous, because when horses have an excess of energy, you probably know yourself, or some of us would know ourselves, that if we have too much coffee or too much Red Bull, or maybe caffeinated beverages when we're not used to them, or those energy type drinks when we're not used to them, it will have an effect on our body, and it will make us a little bit jumpy. It will make us a little bit oversensitive. We might become sensitive to light. We might become sensitive to sound, those kind of things. So it's exactly the same for our horses when they're overfed. Yes, Amy, you're 100% correct, but I know that you're doing the hashtag TKH100, so we're going to fix all those problems by the end of 100 days, and I'm sure that you've reduced the feed. I'm hoping. So overfeeding will definitely contribute to your horse's sensitivity and his ability to think through things that are worrying him. So a horse that has excess energy is going to, too much red wine, no Abby, too much red wine generally makes me a little bit sleepy, not hyperactive, but being overfed causes our horses to struggle with processing information. So I call it receiving information. Our horses receive lots of information when they're in the paddock. So externally, when they're from their paddock mates, from activity like cars going past or tractors or anything that's happening that they can see, noises, wildlife, if birds are chattering and things like that, that's a message that they've got to receive. And then when you start to talk about our handling and our riding and things like that, those are all messages and cues that a horse not only has to receive but interpret and then have a reaction in some way, be it positive or negative reaction. If our horse is full of feed and his blood's too hot for him to be able to take time to do that processing, what he's going to do is have what we would consider a negative reaction, what he would consider to be an instinctive self-protection action. So he's going to go ahead and just take off, and then he's going to turn around and look at that thing later, which is fine when he's in the paddock as long as he stops at the fence. But when we're on him, it's undesirable behavior, and when we're obviously leading him and things like that, that's fairly undesirable behavior, because he may not stop when he gets to the end of that rope. He may drag us and put us in a dangerous situation. So too much molasses for Oscar, absolutely, Hillary. So high in sugar, that can definitely set the horses off. So being overfed, even in something as simple as molasses or sugar, grain, things like that. We've spoken about it a heap of times before. We should be adjusting our feed in regards to the horse's workload and their needs and requirements. So if you've got a horse in a small paddock, he's not going to need as much feed as a horse in a big paddock. A horse in a big paddock may not need as much artificial feed or supplementive feed, because hopefully a big paddock might have a much larger scope of grasses available to him to graze on and things like that. I am currently running all of my horses in a 45-acre paddock that, even coming into winter with the frost that we have had, has a fair amount of grass available to my horses, and they are not being hard fed for any other reason other than to keep them coming up to be checked. And so the amount of feed that you're giving them is, that I'm giving my horses, is about this big. And Cooper, when he's at top weight, is about 680 kilos. He's a really big horse. I've got a big warm blood mare in there, and then I've got my two smaller girls. So definitely they are not requiring excessive or lots of excess feed. And I know the back of the bag's going to tell you to put 1 kilo and 2 kilos and 3 kilos for maintenance, but it's something that you need to observe in your horses. If you're having issues, is going to be an indicator perhaps that they're being overfed, and maybe overfed with the wrong type of feed. So maybe you need to move on to a grassy hay. Is going to be the best thing for your horses. Grass is the best thing for your horses unless they've got laminitic issues and you've got sweet grasses and things like that coming up, which is a conversation that you need to have with a professional in regards to horse nutrition, or a vet, or someone who knows what they're talking about. Megan's watching. Those of us that are lucky enough to know Megan knows that she knows what she's talking about in that regard. There is soil testing available that you can do for your own paddocks, especially those of you that own your paddocks. It's definitely worth doing, so you know exactly what kind of nutrition your horse is getting out of your grasses, or lack of nutrition that your horses are getting, and then you can make decisions on how to supplement them. We tend to go straight for the big shiny bags and the really sweet feeds that our horses love, and it's not always the best decision for them. And we need to always fundamentally remember that our horses are designed to eat roughage. They're designed to eat grass, and they're designed to browse on available, native grasses and bushes and shrubs and things like that, depending on where in the world you are and what your horse has available to them. So those really cool feeds, grains, especially the mixes and the pellets and things like that, can be absolutely you know, mixed with a lot of sugars and things like that to make them really palatable and really attractive. And we know that our horses love them, but I'm sure we wouldn't feed our kids McDonald's every day. And some of us, as feeding our horses, that's exactly what we're doing, is we're feeding them maybe with a couple of Wheat Bix 3 times a week. Look, I wouldn't consider Wheat Bix to be an issue. I'd rather see Wheat Bix than, say, licorice or something like that. You know, yeah, that seems like a pretty plain kind of a thing. If there's a professional watching, as I said, Megan, I know she's watching. No pressure, Megan, you don't have to answer. But if anyone professionally knows there's a problem with Wheat Bix, please let Katie know. But otherwise, I would not personally consider Wheat Bix to be an issue. I love also, that's why I've changed onto the Superlicious treats. You guys would have seen me hashtagging, using that hashtag. I am an ambassador for them, but I'm an ambassador for them because it is all natural ingredients. She uses oats and apples and things like that, even salt and things, which is really good for our horses, not sugars and molasses and things. So overfed, that's the number one thing to take into consideration when you're going through this checklist. The second thing is underworked. So again, we tend to feed our horses the same every day. We get into a routine, and I know that we've got other people. I know that we've got other people feeding our horses sometimes if we're going away and things like that, and it's easy to say, well, he gets 2 scoops of this and 1 scoop of that and 1 scoop of this. And what we should be doing is saying, well, tomorrow I'm going on a 20k ride, so my horse is going to need extra energy and extra supplementation, so my feed today is going to reflect that. And then after that 20k ride, you might be giving him a different kind of feed that's going to help him recover from that 20k ride. But then if he's just sitting in the paddock for the next 4 days not being ridden, then he doesn't need to have that size feed. So adjusting our feed and adjusting our workload is something that we need to take into consideration. It's exactly the same as us. If I was going to go on a huge big hike or something like that, I would nutritionally feed my body in regards to the energy that I would need on a hike, as opposed to when I'm sitting in the office and I know I'm not going to do anything all day and I'm going to be sitting on my butt in the office. It's time to choose healthier options and maybe not so many carbohydrates and things like that. So underworked is another issue, which is it's the flip side of being overfed. The problem with horses that are underworked is that they've got excess energy, and that excess energy translates into your horse having the energy and the stimulus, I guess, to be looking around at sounds and noises, and that in itself can cause the horse to be on edge, walking on eggshells, worried about everything that's going on, instead of just functioning normally as an animal that is walking around grazing. You know, my horses live on a pretty busy road. We've got a sawmill down the road. They see truck after truck after truck and car after car after car. When I first put my warm blood mare in that paddock, she was like a giraffe with every vehicle that went past, and now hundreds of cars and trucks and noisy things can go past every day, and she barely blinks an eye. She barely puts her head up and looks at them. And that was she had that from a different reason. She had come from a very small paddock environment, and she had lived on a very quiet road, so she was not exposed to that. She wasn't used to it, but she took a leaf out of my other horses' books and figured out that if they weren't worried, that she had no reason to be worried, and now we're all fine. So number 1, overfed. Number 2, underworked. That is something that we really need to take seriously. I know that we all, or not all of us, but I know that a lot of us love having big, fat, shiny horses in the paddock, and they look like they're ready to step off the float and go to a royal show, but it's not healthy for our horses to look that way. If they're not being used, if that energy is not being used. It's like me having an athlete's body and not using that energy. Quite soon, my athlete's body would turn into a couch potato's body, because I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be using that energy properly. The third thing that I wanted to talk about reasoning tonight, reasons behind our horses being nervous, is Amy's saying guilty. Too funny. Hi Kylie, how you going? The third thing that I want to talk about is our horses being isolated, okay? I know I've spoken about this a number of times for a number of different reasons on these live feeds, and horses that live by themselves are going to be a lot more sensitive to external stimulus than horses that live in a herd, because when a horse is isolated and living on his own, he does not have the security of the herd, and so he develops a habit of needing to know every single thing that's happening out there, because he needs to make a decision about every single thing that's happening out there as to whether it's a threat to him or whether it's something that he can ignore. So when you have a traditional herd in place, you'll notice that say I've got 5 horses in my herd, 4 of them will lay down and go to sleep, and 1 of them will stand and be the gatekeeper or the watchman. And then when somebody gets up and wakes up, then the watchman will go lay down and there'll be a new watchman, and you'll see that that rotates through the entire herd. When you've got a horse that is isolated and living on their own, they are unable to have this sleep time, and they're unable to they've got to remain on high alert at all times. So not only are they not functioning well in terms of they've got a lack of sleep happening, but they're also programming themselves to go, what's that, what's that, what's that, because no one else is looking out for them and they can't rest, okay? Lisa, Canada, not sure how to balance this. Dakota is, he needs extra feed. He's grumpy. I can't actually read all of that, Canada, because of my screen is only showing me a little selection, but I will definitely read it at the end of the show and I'll reply to it. I can see that a couple of people are replying to you there, so you might get some information here on the feed tonight, but otherwise I will read it when we're finished and I'll reply to your comment individually. So that's number 3, isolated. And I know that I was at a Western show on the weekend, and I know that I was talking to a lady, and I went up to her and I said, oh wow, your horse is looking amazing, he looks lovely, and he had some bite marks and things like that on his bum. And she said, oh yes, but he's got bite marks on his bum, it's from his herd mate and I've had to separate them. And I said, oh, you know, a scarred horse is a happy horse. It's a saying in our house. We say it all the time. Whenever the horses come up and there's a new bite mark or something, we always say a scarred horse is a happy horse, meaning a scarred horse is a horse that is living in a herd, and that is just a natural process of horses living in a herd, is that they will occasionally kick and bite and play, fight and run around and nick at each other and things like that. But I would rather have psychologically balanced horses than pristine horses that have no marks and scratches and things like that. And I know that shows at the moment, and they have been for a long time, and I'm really hoping that one day we're going to change this whole concept of an unblemished horse is what you should be taking into the show ring, because a blemish has absolutely no bearing on a horse's conformation or ability to perform or attitude or aptitude or athleticism or anything like that. And we're causing people to isolate their horses and keep them away from potential playmates and potential herd members because we want to keep them unblemished, which is completely going against what we want to do in regards to having our horses. I'm sure we all have horses because we love horses, and yet we love horses so much apparently that we will go ahead and isolate them and risk psychological damage to have an unblemished animal. So I'm hoping that that's going to change one day in the show world, and there's lots of different things that happen in different competitions and different shows, and this is just one thing that we're talking about. But a scarred horse is a happy horse. Put your horse in with a herd, and that's what I always say to my people. I'd rather my horses have a few scars on them here and there and be happy and healthy and mentally balanced than have all the psychological issues that can come from being isolated. Number 4 is that you can have horses that will develop being nervous or have nervous habits or behaviors from their mothers if their mother is nervous, obviously when the foal, because the foal is going to mimic the mother's behavior. So this is where we we start talking about appropriateness of breeding horses and selecting good, solid, confident, happy mares to be mothers. And not just, obviously conformation is something that needs to be taken into consideration, 100%, athleticism, bloodlines, all of the above, but in those boxes as well needs to be how good a mother they're going to be, which I've spoken about in regards to bossy horses. But number two, how they are going to imprint that foal for being confident and being calm and all the rest of it. I'm not saying that a mare can not be changed or fixed, but I'm saying if you've got a nervous Nelly mare that you're thinking of breeding, I would be building that mare's confidence first so she doesn't put that into her foal, because then you've got a foal that you have to, retrain, so to speak. Eric is saying, is there an upper limit to when the fighting in the paddock? Look, Eric, no is the short answer. Yes is the long answer, but without observation, I couldn't really comment. There is always going to be a transitional phase in regards to it putting new horses in the paddock and things like that when they're fighting. And there is, my horses live in the paddock across the road. They live in 45 acres, and I constantly take Boogie in and out of that paddock. Because she comes on the road with me and she's obviously my workhorse. Now, she went back into that paddock 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5 weeks ago, and she's still isolated from the herd. They have still not allowed her to come back into the herd, even though they know her and they all get fed together, and I go in there and I work with all of them every day and things like that. Every time I drive past, she is away from the herd on her own. They have stopped being as violent with her. They were even chasing her away at feed time, but I put a stop to that by allowing her to come in while I was in there. And when I'm in there, it's my herd, so they do what I say. If it becomes dangerous to the point where you feel like horses are going to go through fences or something like that, then maybe you need to integrate two and then maybe put all four together. But if they've got enough room, then typically what will happen is you might have two little herds that will create, or in my case, I've got a herd of 4 and then Boogie's a little bit isolated. But, there's no doubt in my mind that they will accept her probably, in 5 days or so, and then I'm going to take her out and take her to a clinic anyway, so we're going to have to go through the whole process. But I honestly believe that psychologically it's better for her to go back in with that herd once we get back from a clinic than me to put her in the 1 acre out the back on her own. So I've made that decision, and even though human me drives past and goes, oh, she's on her own, how sad, they don't like her, they don't, she can't be having fun in there, etc., etc. I know fundamentally that her needs as a horse is to be in a herd, and I know that they are slowly accepting her. I hope that helped, Eric. Number 5 is that sometimes the behavior is justified and encouraged by the owner. And what I mean by that is sometimes our little horses get nervous, or they get worried, or they get scared. And what we do is we go ahead and justify it by trying to calm them down, or taking them away from something, or something like that. It's very similar. I'll put it in dog terms for you. The worst possible thing that we can do when a dog is frightened of a storm or from fireworks is scoop him up into our arms and say, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Because then the dog goes, I knew I had something to worry about because my mum's worried about it as well. The same thing happens with our horses. If they get worried about something and we enter into that and we try and calm them just by reassuring them and saying, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, then our horse goes, well, obviously it's not okay because I've got something to worry about, instead of us saying, come on, let's go do this, come on, I'm not worried about it, so you shouldn't be worried about it. Ultimately, if you look at a mare and foal, if a foal freaks out about something, the mare does one of two things. She keeps eating, or she looks and she freaks out herself and she runs and she says to the foal, yep, we need to run, we need to get out of here, teaching that foal instinctive behavior. Or she teaches the foal, I'm not worried, so you don't worry about it. You've got to mimic me. So we always need to keep that in the back of our mind when we've got a nervous horse, that if they're looking at something that they're worried about, to us simply to stand there and passively pat them or reassure them or something like that is actually justifying their fear and justifying that behavior. Jody, how much do you think a horse body score is related to opinion versus condition? I'm not sure I follow the question 100%. Yeah, you probably need to clarify that for me, Jody. I think that most of the time humans estimate either way. So if we see a horse that may be a little bit slight or a little bit skinny or something like that, and it might have a body score of 4, humans are going to say it's a 2 or it's a 3. I think we're going to over extreme on that end of the scale. And then I think that when we see a horse that's fat and at a dangerous body score of 10, that's fat and shiny and beautiful in human terms, we'll say, oh no, he's only a 7. He looks great. He's perfect. Because that's what we want to see. Humans like fat dogs, fat cats, fat horses, and skinny kids and skinny people. That's what humans are conditioned to believe is beautiful, and that's not what nature has intended. All of those animals are not meant to be overweight and fat like we have them most of the time, most human beings. Number 6, am I up to? Number 6 is that the owner is nervous, and so the horse is actually feeding off the owner's nervousness. If the owner gets nervous because they've had an issue with a previous horse, or the owner's had an accident, or the owner may have had an issue with this current horse, then what will happen is the owner will start to preempt the horse's nervousness. So what will happen is the owner will hear a motorbike, and the owner will gather up the reins and say, my horse doesn't like motorbikes. And I normally say to them, well, it's probably not that the horse doesn't like motorbikes, it's that you have just told the horse not to like motorbikes because you've gathered up the reins in preparation of your fear of what the horse is going to do in regards to a motorbike, and the horse has received that message and gone, oh, something to be worried about, because 30 seconds ago my rider was sitting there all cool, calm and collected, and now I can hear this sound coming and my rider's gone ahead and gathered the reins. So I'm not saying that your horse won't be afraid of a motorbike if you sit there with the reins in one hand and buckle if you've never experienced a motorbike or anything before. I'm not saying that every horse is going to be fine with a motorbike, but what I'm saying is that I see a lot of nervous horses that are actually being cued by the owner, because the owner will say, oh, it's windy today, and the owner gets on there and tightens their body in anticipation of something going wrong, be it at a show that we've already got nerves at a show where there's rides and things going on, at a show where there's anything strange, or an event where there's anything strange. Quite often the owner will prepare for something to go wrong, and then that's the cue to the horse. Then the horse gets nervous and the owner goes, oh, see, he's scared of motorbikes or whatever he was worried about. Hey, Beck. Okay, so number 7 is handling and training techniques. So your horse could be nervous because he is worried about being wrong. I see a lot of horses that have been handled in incorrect ways. I'll use that word, incorrect ways, or using fear methodology. And what I see is horses that will actually be worried about being wrong. I meet a lot of horses that are worried about being wrong, because what they'll do is the rider will put a cue on, and the horse will sort of may not understand the cue, if it's something new or if it's something that just hasn't been applied in the same way that it has in the past, or it's not a solid cue yet. And the horse, instead of the horse trying to figure out what is happening or what the rider is trying to cue them to do, the horse will start to get nervous and the heart rate will go up and they'll start blowing and they might start prancing on the spot or whatever. And so what will happen is that what that tells me is that the horse is actually afraid of making a mistake, because what follows them making a mistake is a punishment instead of a re-cueing, and no, that's not what I was after, or a continued cueing. You know, if I put this in terms, most of you who have been to my clinics would have seen me done this 100 times with Cooper before. I'm probably running out of different things that I can do with him. But one of my things that I've demonstrated in the past at a clinic is, and I haven't taught my horses to lead by the forelock. I don't teach my horses to lead by the forelock as a common thing. But all of my horses, if I grab the forelock and I put pressure in the forelock, one of the first things that they'll do is, you know, start to pull back to try and get away from that pressure. And then they might try and bob their head, and they'll do 3 or 4 different things. And then as soon as they come forward into that pressure, I go ahead and release the forelock. And the reason I do that demonstration, or the reason I've done that demonstration in the past, is to show that what my horses will do, because they know that there's a correct answer and they're confident in the training techniques, my horses will just continue to go through different answers to that question, or different responses to that question that I'm asking them, to that cue, and then figure out which one I wanted, because my timing I'll release when they've given me what they wanted. None of my horses will start to panic and worry about them being wrong. None of my horses worry about being wrong. All of my horses know that fundamentally that's the way we communicate with each other. I ask them a question, they either get the answer right and the cue is released, or they get the answer wrong and I keep cueing until they choose the correct answer, and then I release. So training and handling techniques, afraid to be wrong. You might see trainers or coaches, or if you yourself are training your horse, be aware of what you're doing when you're training your horse. You know, if you go ahead and ask for a canter cue or something like that, and your first response when that horse doesn't canter is to give him a whip up the flanks, or a whip on the leg, or a whip on the bum, then your immediate response is, he's ignoring me, instead of, did he understand? Was he in a physical position to canter? Did I set the horse up right? Was I asking correctly? You need to go through a little checklist before you start going, crack, that was wrong. Because the more you go, crack, that was wrong, or crack, you should have done something, the more the horse is going to say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I know that a crack is going to follow this. So then they become very, very nervous about being wrong when they don't understand a cue. I meet a lot of horses like that. Kylie, Harley's visiting the pub all the time. Yeah, that'll keep them calm if they're watching Harley's come in and out all the time. They're nice and loud. Question is asked and they keep trying different answers. Yeah, that's absolutely the way that I, fundamentally the way that I train my horses. Inconsistency in the handler is another reason that our horses can become nervous, and that is generally inconsistency in the handler's expectations, the handler's body language. We've been through this before. The scenario is you arrive at your paddock on Sunday morning and you're nice and relaxed and you've gone and got a coffee and you've got all day, and so everything's a breeze and nothing's a worry. And then Monday morning you're late for work, and so you get in there and you say, come on horse, get up here, do this, I've got to rip your rugs off. So one day he experiences this nice, quiet, calm owner, and then the next day he experiences a lunatic, and then the next day he's got something else, and the next day he's got something else. So that can generate nervousness in the horses all on their own, because it's inconsistent. So you need to you need to be the same person every single day when it comes to your horses. So a little story that I like to tell at my clinics is I have a lot of people come to my clinics with ex-race horses or horses off the track, and they'll say, oh, he was mistreated at the track and he didn't have a good experience at the track. And I say, well, whilst some training facilities or some racehorse facilities may not follow similar training techniques as what you're trying to learn here at a clinic, one thing that generally happens in a racing facility is consistency. So while the horse might look over the stable door and he'll go, oh, here comes Jack again, you know, he's an asshole. The difference is that Jack's an asshole every single day. So the horse knows what to expect every single day. There's a consistency in it, which is better for the horse because he knows where he stands every single day, to have that consistency rather than having the inconsistency of the owner that loves him, and then the owner that is rushing him, and then the owner that gets cranky with him, and then the owner that loves him again. The horse never ever knows where he stands. He's never consistent. So, you know, I always say, yeah, that's the little story that I like to tell in regards to that kind of scenario is the horse goes, oh, he's an asshole, but he's my asshole, and he's an ass every day. So I know where I stand with him. So they're the probably top 8 reasons that we may have nervous horses. There's about a billion more. If the horse has had a bad accident or bad experiences or anything like that, they would all go onto the list. And what I want to start talking about now is how we're going to solve those issues, those particular top ones. And if you do have any other ones, if you've got a horse that has particularly had an accident or had a bad experience, generally I'm going to say, look at the owner, look at the handler, look at the training techniques. I experienced a horse when I had a horse on his way to me for starting under saddle, and the horse was in an accident in the horse float, and he was fine. But it was a pretty big accident. The float rolled over, and he was inside, and I received the call from the owner and went straight down there with my float because her float was damaged and all the rest of it. And when I arrived, you know, we waited for the vet, and the horse was okay, and we were just getting him checked over, and the vet arrived, and the vet said to me, oh, you're never going to get this horse on a float again, you know, he's going to know. And I said, no, I don't think he is. The horse lives in the present moment. I don't think I'm going to have very much trouble with the horse at all, providing that I act as though nothing's wrong, as if it, you know, that happened an hour ago or whatever it was, 2 hours ago by that stage. We're not thinking about that now. We're thinking about something completely different. And sure enough, within 10 minutes, I had that horse in my trailer, which was a strange trailer. Only a couple of hours after he had a pretty severe accident in a trailer. He traveled perfectly all the way home, and now, you know, and the horse is fine. And that's because I treated him as if he was fine. So even if you've got a horse that's got a reason or an excuse to be nervous, if you keep justifying that behavior by saying, oh, but he's had an accident, oh, but he's been mistreated, oh, but this, then you're going to be continually justifying that behavior. Every day is a new day. You need to treat the horse with what is happening today and what the expectations are today. So overfed, reduce the feed. Feed for what the horse's requirements are now, and what the horse's requirements are tomorrow in regards to workload. Underworked, increase the workload, turn them out in a bigger paddock so they can at least cover more ground. Horses are meant to cover lots and lots of ground, you know, up to 20 kilometers a day. They put trackers on brumbies and things like that, and they will go up to 20 k's a day searching for grass. They're not searching for grain, and we need to remember that. And they look happy and healthy and fine, and that's how much ground that they cover. And you know, they've got no rugs and they've got nothing like that in the snow and the cold and all that sort of thing. So humans tend to underwork and overfeed. So definitely have a look at that, and you'll probably save some pennies as well. If your horse is isolated, finding your horse a herd. Finding your horse a herd, integrating him with a herd. He's going to learn social skills. He's going to learn how to have better manners. He's going to feel safer. He's going to sleep better. And that's going to help in regards to his nervous behavior. A herd is going to far outweigh any other need for isolation. Any habits that the horse has developed from his mother. So all of you watching this that are considering breeding your mares, make sure that they are not only tick all the boxes in regards to breeding and athleticism and conformation and all that sort of stuff. Please ensure that they are going to be good role models for foals and teach them good social skills and how to be calm, confident, happy horses. And habits from a mother with an existing horse already can be solved with building trust, which I'm going to go through in a minute because that's what we're going to talk about. Building trust will help with regards to habits from the mother, and it's going to help with regards to handling and training, and it's going to help with regards to inconsistency in the handler. Owner being nervous, you need to evaluate the owners, evaluate yourself, figure out if it is you that's causing the horse to be nervous, and go ahead and address those issues. I have done a video on building confidence and helping with anxiety in the rider. It is one of the Monday Night Live videos that will be available. Either if you want to go through all the Facebook videos that are up online, it'll still be up. I haven't taken any down. And I believe it is probably on the first DVD because it was one of the earlier ones that we did. So it'll be on that DVD. Handling and training, you know, take the time to consider how you are training. You know, if you're using corrective training techniques or punishment training techniques, as in if the horse does something wrong, if you're correcting him via punishment, then that's something you need to consider with a nervous horse, because a nervous horse is just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. We've got a horse here that we've owned for a few years now. She came to us as a real basket case, and she was quite a nervous horse anyway, but what they did when she shied and things like that was they took to her with a whip. So not only was she worried initially, she was just a generally nervous horse, which could have been solved via building trust exercises. Then that was compounded by the fact that she knew she couldn't stop herself from being nervous. She'd go, oh, what's that? But then she'd panic about what was coming after the being nervous. So then she started to get scared of being scared, and she was a bit of a worry, but we have helped her and she's tremendous now. She's a wonderful horse. So really have a look at the way that you're handling and training, and maybe reevaluate the way that you're handling and training your horse, or the way that your trainer is, or whatever. Inconsistency in the handler. Leave your ego at the gate, leave your day at the gate, leave everything in your car at the gate. When you enter that horse paddock, be present, be with your horse, and respond to the horse and have a calm, confident demeanor. Consistently, every single day you handle your horse, you should be the same person. Leave all of your troubles from the day, or happiness from the day, or excitement of where you're going at the gate, because the horse doesn't understand those changes in human emotions, and they don't understand human emotions. So just to remain calm and confident for your horse is going to have some help hugely. So building trust exercises, what we want to do is, sorry, Jill is saying, what is your action if the horse decides to pull back against pressure at any point? It depends on what we're specifically talking about. It depends on what kind of pressure. Horse's natural reaction is either to push into pressure, as in when you're trying to yield them to a touch or something like that, say your leg or something like that. Horse's instinct is to push into that pressure. That's why we're actually teaching them the opposite cue that we want, which is to move away from pressure. And there's a whole physiological reason for that. Going into the float, if the horse pulls back on going into the float, I will let the horse, I will keep the pressure on, but I won't try and hold the horse there, if that makes sense. So when the horse pulls back, I'm going to keep the pressure on, but if the horse is running backwards, I'm not going to be dragged along. I will walk with the horse, but what I want is the halter to still be asking the horse to step forward, and then as soon as the horse steps forward, I'm going to release that pressure. So they still I don't want the horse to pull back and then I just throw the rein at him, because he's going to get a release from pulling back, and that's going to teach him to pull back. But I'm not going to, tie him to the float or anything like that, or try and hold him strong and fast. And I'm not going to go beyond where he was pulling back. So, if he pulls back and he goes back 10 paces away from the trailer, as soon as he comes forward off that pressure, which is the correct response, I'm going to go ahead and release. And then I'm going to ask him to lead back to the trailer. And that would be building confidence around the trailer. Obviously, if he's pulling back away from the float, that's a confidence issue when it comes to the float. And that's something I would address, completely as its own entity. So when it comes to building trust, what we want to do is establish a toolbox. We want to build our toolbox. So what is in our toolbox are a set number or a set number of exercises that we want to be able to pull out and use with our horse whenever they get bothered. So let me try and put it in human terms. If I have got a child going on a plane for the first time, then what I'm going to do with that child is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm not even going to discuss being nervous or worried or anything like that. I'm not going to ask the child constantly if they're nervous about going on the flight or if they're worried, because I'm going to put it in the child's head that they should be nervous or they should be worried about it. So that's body language. The translation of that to the horse is when my body language is got to be telling the horse, this is fine, this is normal, we're okay. The horse has to be able to look to me and think, well, she's okay and I'm not okay, but she's okay, so I need to listen to her because she's okay. If I meet the horse's excitement or nervousness with my own, then the horse is going to say, well, you're just as nervous as I am, so why would I look to you for guidance? So body language is number one. Number two, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that child's favorite snacks on the plane. I'm going to take their favorite blanket on the plane. I'm going to take their favorite DVD, their favorite book, their coloring in, their teddy bear, and I'm going to basically surround that child with all the familiar things that they love and makes them feel comfortable. So the translation for that with our horses is a series of exercises. Those of you that have been to my courses would know that we've got our 10 ground exercises, but you who haven't done my courses may have done courses with other people before. There may be a series of exercises, or you might want to make your own few exercises. Basically what you want to be doing is disengaging the horse's hindquarter because it has a physiological response in the horse's mind. You want to have a exercise in there that helps the horse stay off you and keeps the pair of you safe. So you want to have a backup and a park exercise in there, and you want to have a bending technique in there, so a lateral bend. That would be the top 3 exercises that I would want to have in my toolbox, and they've got to be so very solid. So what happens is I get off the float at the show, my horse goes, where are we? We're at the show. And I say, look at me, I'm calm. The horse goes, okay, you seem pretty calm, but there's a lot going on. What should we do? And I go ahead and say, how about we yield your hindquarter? How about we bend? How about we circle? How about we back up? Whatever it is that I do. And then my horse, who has experienced these exercises hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times and knows them with great familiarity and confidence, says, oh, something that I know what to do. I must be fine. My mum's here, she's fine. We're doing stuff that I already know, so that's fine. So the only thing I've got remaining to be worried about is being in a strange location, but I've got someone who's familiar and I've got exercises that are familiar, and that is going to cause your horse to remain calm in that situation. The last thing that we want to do is try and start to justify the horse by saying, whoa, 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 stand still, and make the horse stand still. Your horse's instincts tells him, when I'm worried, I need to move my feet. And when humans get worried, we go, when we're worried, we don't want you to move your feet. So we try and make the horse stand still. So it goes completely against all of his instincts telling him to move so he can remain safe. So what you need to do is have a group of tools in your toolbox. So instead you can say, you're worried, let's move your feet. But we're going to do it in a way that I know is safe, that I know is controlled, and I know that you know. That is the most vital thing here, is to give your horse something to do that he knows what to do. Don't try and teach him something new when he's in a strange place. He just won't be able to interpret messages or cues or anything like that. So having a set of exercises in your toolbox. The second thing that you can do is what I call exposure training. So this is where I expose my horse in a safe, controlled environment to scary things or things that he might find worrisome. And I'm going to go ahead and take the time to show him those things in a calm, confident and happy way to build his trust and build his confidence around those things. And then what that is going to translate into is your horse has experienced things that bother him and you've got him through them quietly and confidently. And so then when you're out and about and you experience something that he hasn't seen before, his previous experiences tell him, well, she's got me through everything before, so I'm going to go ahead and trust her when it comes to this one thing. So what I talk about all the time is you may not be able to ever show your horse everything that's going to ever happen to him in his life, or everything that you're going to be able to see. But what you can do is expose him to as many things as you can think of, or as many things that may be around. And then what that does is it puts that experience positively in the bank for the horse. So if you can show your horse 5 scary things, then the horse has got 5 experiences to go back to. If you can show him 10 scary things, calmly, confidently, quietly, and then the horse has 10 experiences to go back to. And if you can show your horse 50 scary things and you get him through all of them quietly and calmly and confidently, then the horse has got 50 experiences. So when you get out there and you've got one thing that scares him, he goes, oh, we've been through 50 things before. We'll be sweet. Obviously, he doesn't think like that because that's how humans think, but horses go back to what their experiences are. So if he feels like he can trust you, then he's going to trust you. He's going to replicate that behavior. Whereas if you've got a brand new green horse and you've never been together and you experience something scary, then he's got no history to go back to. It's the same as human beings. If I was sitting around a group of people, and there were 2 or 3 people that I'd known for some time, and then 3 or 4 that I'd only just met, and 1 that I'd known for 10 years, then if I experienced something scary or I experienced something that was worrisome to me, I would probably go to the person that I've known for 10 years, because unless I'd had bad experiences with them, because I trust that person. I know that person, they're familiar to me, and I feel like I can trust what they're saying. Hi, so how would the moving exercises translate to a very green harness horse when he's put to? I don't understand put out when he's upset. Is that upset maybe? If you can clarify that, Cheryl. So what you would do in any case for a harness horse is you probably won't be able to disengage. Hillary, we've been through this with Hillary's horses because she puts her horses into harness, and we're unable to disengage the hindquarters because you've got the harness and the poles and stuff down their sides. So what you need to do is develop exercises that can be done. That may be leading the horse in a small circle or a small figure 8 in a controlled, calm way. You'll need to find exercises that you can change and train to a level of familiarity with that harness equipment on that you can go back into your toolbox. So I guess it's about taking the concepts of horse needs to move his feet, disengaging or crossing over under the back legs is going to have a physiological response, which obviously you might not be able to do in harness. I'll put to his harness to cart. And are you saying if he's worried when he gets put in his harness? anyway, I'll wait for Cheryl to, so again with you, Cheryl, if I can't answer this on the live, I will try and address it in the comments after the live show is finished. But yeah, when he's put to his cart and everything like that, if he gets worried, I would be building the ground exercises before I would attach it to him. So I'd be making sure that he was calm and quiet about having it behind him, and about you know, with a harness horse, you've got to expose them to the sounds, the smells, the feels, the sights, the concept of having something behind him, the weight of something behind him, all individually. We call it singular focus training. So the last thing I'm going to do is go ahead and hitch a horse up to a harness and just see what happens. Yeah, so Hillary's saying exactly the same thing, and she trains harness horses. So yeah, I would individually break down what the horse is going to experience when it comes to a harness, and I would go ahead and train each of those things individually. So I know that at Hillary's place, for example, we've had someone leading the horse and we've had someone dragging chains behind them, not even attached to the horse, so they can hear the chains, and we make sure that they're okay with that. And then we might go ahead and make sure that they're okay with ropes being around their legs and things like that before we'd even consider, you know, attaching chains. And then we might get them to drag a rope, so they just get that little bit of a feel of a drag. And then we might attach a light chain, and then we go on, and you know, it builds and builds and builds slowly when you're trying to get a horse confident when it comes to harness training. And exposure training is exactly the same thing. You've got to take into consideration what it is that your horse is going to experience with each individual item that you're trying to expose him to. So say it was a water crossing, he's going to feel the water, he's going to hear the water moving, his feet are going to sink, and you would try and train those things individually one at a time before you put them all together. The third thing that we're going to talk about is setting them up for success. This is the final thing. So setting the horse up for success means that you want to train these things in a calm, quiet environment. The last thing I'm going to do is take my horse out to a show and start to try and teach him how to lead at a show, because he's got all that external stimulation going on. There's no way that he's going to learn how to lead when he's being externally stimulated. And that goes for, it could be just at your home, might have a lot of external stimulation, or whatever it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to train the horse at home and do it hundreds and hundreds of times at home, so he's familiar with what we're asking him to do, the leading. And then when I go ahead and put him into an environment that does have external stimulation, somewhere in all that stimulus, he'll be able to find the neural pathways that we've created and say, I know what I'm supposed to do because I've experienced this cue at home many, many times before when I haven't been distracted and I haven't had this external stimulation. So setting them up for success means, you know, if you're going out on a trail for the first time, you're going to very, very carefully select the people that you go on a trail or out with or to a show with. Even exposing our horses to shows. Really quick, I'm going to tell a story and then we're all done. I had some people come to a clinic once and they had brought the horse along just to get some exposure. Pardon me, I'm a little bit under the weather, so you can hear my sinuses and everything are starting to block up. And they had brought this horse along to a course just to be exposed to other horses and things like that. And they tied her up to the fence and we were doing the clinic, and they made the comment to me. They said, oh, wow, she's so quiet. We have never seen her this quiet at an outing before. And I said to them, well, where have you been taking her? And they said, oh, to the local shows and to the local dressage competitions. Well, if you go to a local show or you go to a local dressage or any kind of event, normally the air, you can cut the air with a knife with the tension that's in the air and the stress that's in the air. You've got horses calling out, you've got humans running around, you've got people running late, you've got people that are, supposed to be here, there and everywhere. The human energy is through the roof because they're so nervous. And so for you to be taking your horse out to teach him how to behave, you need to take him to a place where he's going to experience all the other horses being nice and quiet and calm. And then he learns to replicate that behavior. He looks around and he goes, oh, everyone else is fine, so I'm fine. Whereas you take him to a show and he goes, everyone else is not fine, so that must be normal. I'm going to go ahead and carry on because that horse is whinnying and that horse is whinnying and that person's, heart rate's through the roof and everyone's nervous and up in their energy. So I said to them, you've made a really good choice bringing the horse to a clinic, because clinics are generally always quiet and calm and something like that, that have beautiful energy about them. And so the horse learns that that's a normal outing. And once you've done that 3 or 4 times, then you might be able to take the horse to a show or a more exciting, stimulating event. And then the horse can sort of make the decision, well, normally when I've been out and about, everything's been okay, so I don't feel like I need to replicate the behavior that's happening externally. And if that doesn't work for you, then you need to go back to taking him out to quiet events until he develops the habit of being cool, calm, and collected at events. You want him and you to be always cool, calm, and collected when it comes to going out and about. So setting him up for success and banking those rides, making sure that he has good experiences and good history with you. So when you do experience something that's worrisome, then you can go ahead and he's got experiences to fall back on that were positive experiences and not negative experiences. So as per usual, we do have an information sheet. We will have an information sheet available on this topic. And if you would like it, please send me your email address into my inbox. And I'll get it off to you in the next couple of days. It's just a PDF. And it's just an information sheet that says everything that we've spoken about tonight. If you would like to receive our emails, which we send out once a week with an article in them, it's not an article about what we've talked about on Monday Night Live. They're different topics. Please go ahead and send me your email address as well, and I'll add you to our newsletter list. Make sure that you're following us on all the social media sites. So that's Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is our Tanja Kraus Horsemanship page, and those of you interested in joining the TKH100 Revolution, that is the name of the Facebook group. It's hashtag TKH100 and space revolution, and we'd love to see you in there. It's a really cool group, and we're sharing a lot of information and ideas and things like that. And those of you who are looking for some DVDs, you can go ahead and look at my Tanja Kraus Horsemanship page. I put up a sale today, or just send me a message into my inbox and I'll go ahead and send you an order form. So thank you all so much for watching Monday Night Live number 12. Thank you so much. I wouldn't keep doing it if you guys weren't here every week. So I really appreciate you taking the time out and sharing it with people and all the rest of it. Next week's topic is, I did write it down, are you training or tormenting your horse? We're going to go through some ideas when it comes to training your horses, and we're going to go ahead and discuss whether you have reached the point where you're actually just tormenting your horse, or whether you're training him or educating him, as I prefer to call it. I don't like to call it training. I can see all your thank yous coming in. Nikita, Danielle, and thank you so much. Bindi, Amy, thank you so much, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you want to see your topic, please go ahead and send it to my inbox. I'm always looking for topics, and I will get them up on Monday Night Live. And I will see you all next week, hopefully. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will pop this up on the replay very, very soon. You're welcome. Thank you, Anna. Good night, everyone. Have a great week with your horses, and I'll see you soon.